Because if you have it right there, you come up, you can break some of your ribs. Yeah. Because that's going to tighten up.
They're pretty intimidating off the bat. Sudden drop. It's probably a 40% slope straight into the jungle, triple canopy.
It's either a survivor or die. There's no in between.
5 Golf Mike, actually I'm in altitude, just had to maintain 11000.
I'm Captain Thomas O'Brien. I'm the Bravo Company Commander for 9th ESB. So Bravo Company in particular and 9th ESB, we're out here at Jungle Warfare Training Center and all over Okinawa performing a Marine Corps Combat Readiness Evaluation, also abbreviated as MCRE.
We first came in, we showed up probably 4 days before the MCRE started, and our main objectives were to build a bridge and establish good bivouac areas.
Once we got there, we dropped packs, put up a 180 security, and then gathered up everything and started our hike out to our bivouac zone.
And what we're doing is we're getting at some training objectives, how they can command and control their forces from separate locations, to be able to talk to each other, to be able to send commands to each other in an environment that's contested and challenged. The MCRE in and of itself, it's an evaluation of any type of unit in the Marine Corps, their ability to be able to conduct their jobs. So every battalion or regiment or something higher generally has kind of a task list of things they have to be able to do. And the Marine Corps says you need to be able to do these things to a particular type of efficiency. You need to be able to do these things under a particular type of situation and environment. And so we come out here and we get tested in these kind of unique ways.
So you're gonna follow that locking bar like this, wrap it around so it looks like a little loop in the back. There you go.
So, when we got here, one of the platoons, they went through a pretty intensive instruction piece by the Jungle Warfare Training Center staff, and some of the stuff included how to tie knots.
You have to make the hole, so now you're going to go over and see how you kind of make the space.
It'll allow an infantry squad to maneuver faster and more efficiently throughout the austere environment.
All right, make sure not to catch that pocket.
You pull it out this way?
Oh, instead of going down.
Instead of going down.
We're doing this so we can basically hang yourself on a line. To be honest with you, man, I really don't know.
You can see how those ropes are being utilized, how they're being tied, and then you take that skill set and you can take that out in the operating environment and tie knots for ropes and all kinds of handy things that you can use that stuff for.
You guys can come around, inspect the system, check it out, feel it.
The instructors taught us a few knots that we would be able to use into the endurance course that we're going to be doing the next day.
What the endurance course is supposed to do is it's supposed to prepare you for traversing through the jungle and the necessary things that you need to do to get from where you are to where you need to be.
So the environment of the E-course is...
It's a completely different environment from where you were just a second ago. You could be in the blazing hot sun and then you walk into the jungle and it's just instantly muggy.
It's a little cooler because you're down a little bit more.
There's trees above you, triple canopy.
So there's a lot of bugs, and typically speaking, the bugs, the mosquitoes, they're a lot bigger, their bites hurt a lot more.
On the endurance course, there's a river that runs through essentially the entirety of the course, and from place to place, you're constantly running into the river.
The water is freezing cold. You're not just swimming through a good, nice, refreshing. It's cold. It's ice cold.
as you're walking, it's everything around you is moist. There's nothing that's dry. There's nothing that you can touch that isn't soaked.
And it makes it hard to traverse through, whether that's on slick rocks, on slick clay, because coming down some of the obstacles, there's a lot of clay on there that's wet, and it makes the whole environment that much more dangerous.
Everything in there is dangerous, and so you have to be careful of where you're at, what you're doing, where you're placing your feet, because if you're not, you could slip and hurt yourself.
It's an environment that's harsh. It's a harsh environment, but it's definitely one that if you weren't being careful, you could easily get hurt in. I'm Lance Corporal Chase Watkins. I'm a combat engineer with 9th ESB. I'm from Coldwater, Michigan. It's just a small town, very little people. It's very cold year-round, doesn't get above 70 typically. Everybody knows everybody. It's a good little place to grow up in. I grew up in the country, and I've always liked working with my hands. I did automotive technologies or automotive mechanics school for 4 years. It's like its own little community. So car guys can talk about cars, and a lot of people who don't understand cars. It's like speaking your own little language. Everybody understands everybody, and everybody has their own little ways of representing themselves with the car that they work on and build.
We're setting up a gun position in case an enemy advances past the main MSR.
If somebody was to drive up or walk up, you're going to challenge them. You're going to say something like, did you see the new episode of Rick and Morty? And the answer could be Family Guy, so they say something like, yeah, but I like Family Guy more. If they don't say what they're supposed to say, you'd stop them. I joined the Marine Corps because ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to be in the Marines. Then my older brother joined. He went recon. And he really inspired me and pushed me to really do that. Also because my buddy joined the Army and I had to show him up a little bit, so. And I'm glad that I did do it because I got to travel, I got to see the world, I got to do all these things that nobody back home that I know have ever done. And it's an experience in of its own, and I really enjoy it.
The next day, we ran the endurance course at J-Dubs.
Hey, separate yourself over there a little bit more. Hey, to make it fair, the fast food's got to wear gas masks, all right?
So coming into the E-course, the very first thing is sudden drop. Dropping in, doing a hasty rappel, so pretty intimidating off the bat.
All you can see is the landing at the bottom, and it's like at least 50 feet down. You're left with one option, and was to go down.
We're in mountainous terrain, jungle terrain, and these steep climbs and these draws and these valleys.
They're pretty dangerous, honestly.
It's all clay, slippery. It had rained a couple days before, so the course is nice and wet.
Clamp it.
I go across on a 3-strand, then I'm gonna come back across on a 2-strand.
We just run deeper and deeper into the tree line, and we come on more and more obstacles, and we defeated them as we came up to them.
You keep hitting the river, and the river kind of wakes you up and takes you to the next spot.
We were able to use our knots in some of the areas to help get down steep hills.
Warrant officers, you have captains, lieutenants, staff sergeants. Damn, man. I don't know what this one is. Though.
Where am I going?
We're at the bottom.
The bottom? Yeah. Makes sense.
You put it wherever you want to put it, man.
Okay, to move, I'll take the top.
At the bottom.
But in my mind, I knew what was going on around me. What they were doing.
Ta-da.
Level over, Bill! I'll hand over him.
Huh?
I really don't even want to get on this thing anymore. After that comment,
You get to this little platform. It's not very big, maybe 3 feet.
We see the gap that we're trying to get across, and there's a rope bridge spanning the gap. So we get our carabiners hooked in. We get hooked into the line itself, which is a steel cable.
Those ropes are kind of interwoven throughout the training area.
The carabiner gets hooked on the wires. Every single time you move, it's getting hooked. And
people are getting exhausted, people are getting tired, and they're hanging out in the middle of the bridge.
I remember getting up there and pulling myself across.
Keep going, don't stop, keep going.
All that weight was on my hips, and it was painful.
All right, put your legs up. You here. Hey, the main goal here at JWTC is to train Marines to maneuver in a jungle environment, austere environment, to one day go against our near-peer threats.
Come on, don't do that. You're gonna pass out, and then you're just gonna leave you there.
I think the hardest obstacle for myself and the Marines was one of the very last ones. It's called the pit and pond. There was muddy water.
Leading up to it, I could smell it. And as soon as you step in it, you can feel it slimy, and you can tell there's just mad mosquito larvae and bugs. And
it was super gross.
Getting on all fours, crawling into the water, not knowing what was in there.
There was some things that we had to go physically under the water for, such as logs, bridges, etc., where we had to put our faces under that water.
There's a piece of plexiglass that you have to submerge your entire body in, get across, and then get up without touching the plexiglass.
We had to work together to keep each other moving through it.
If you mess up and you don't do something right, you're just gonna get sent all the way back to the beginning.
You were grabbing onto stuff, not knowing what it was. I was thinking about parasites, centipedes, snakes.
And all of a sudden you're just like, go take him back. And I was like, I look up and Sanchez goes, dude, I've done this 3 times, ain't no way.
I didn't even, that was my first time going like to the end.
Out the water to say that. Actually going through like the mud and seeing how you would traverse a jungle environment, that was really nice. For me personally, it was probably just remembering the knots. If you don't tie your knots right, then you're gonna fall off a line, you're gonna come off a pulley system, and then you're holding everybody else up, or you're holding up the movement ahead of you. Getting through the mud, getting dirty, and just getting in an uncomfortable situation. I mean, what's the point of training if you're not uncomfortable? No, you're ruining the flavor.
The terrain always adds a level of complexity and adversity to your mission set. When you train in this type of environment, and it's what I guess I would call it hostile towards just training in individuals and Marines and people in general. When you train in this environment, it helps build confidence that, hey, you know, I can get this job done. And if you can get it done in this type of environment, well, chances are you can probably get it done in virtually any other jungle environment. So it raises your standard and effectively fight at any kind of climber place like we advertise in the Marine Corps.
Contact right. Fire. Get on line. Buddy rushes. All right, moving. Move.
If you can figure this thing out here, if you can figure out your problem sets, if you can figure out how to adapt and overcome an environment that is just naturally hostile to you, then you can obviously overcome obstacles that are much easier on people for human factors and conditions like that.
Here you go. No, he's hooking us up with the Humvee. Oh, are you? Are you driving all the gear? I mean all the material?
I'm already in.
It was early on in the night. We're all getting ready for bed, setting up security to provide for the bivouac site. As we're getting ready, off in the distance, somewhere out in the jungle, we hear like people howling and hooting and.
Here, one up here now. Let's go.
And that's when we heard the first pop shot.
Heads up. You two watch that left side, all right? And watch that road.